Eleanor's Eyebrows by Timothy Knapman and David Tazzyman. Once upon a time, Eleanor knew exactly what all the different bits of her face were for. Her eyes were for crossing, her ears for waggling, her nose was for picking, and her tongue was for sticking out at people. "But what on earth is the point of eyebrows?" said Eleanor one day. "They're just two silly, scruffy, hairy little bits of fluff." Now, Eleanor's eyebrows wouldn't stay where they weren't wanted, so that night, while Eleanor slept, they slid off her face and ventured out into the big wide world to find someone who would love them for what they were. "Are you long, thin, and hairy? Want to be more than just a silly, scruffy, hairy little bit of fluff? We can make you beautiful. Come to the butterfly house at the zoo." And that's when they saw a notice. So the eyebrows made straight for the zoo, and in no time they were tucked up in a butterfly house. It was full of caterpillars who were fluffy and hairy too. But the eyebrows didn't like the taste of leaves, and no matter how hard they worked at it, they just couldn't make a cocoon. So the eyebrows went looking for another home. They tried being a twirling moustache for a marvelous magician, but his tricks involved explosions. It was far too dangerous. So they tried being woolly hand warmers for beautiful lady beetles who didn't want to catch a cold, and false legs for a very large ant who liked pretending to be a spider. Tires on a stick insect's motorbike. Eleanor, meanwhile, had been merrily getting on with life. She hadn't missed her eyebrows one little bit, until one day her granny came to visit. The old lady took one look at the empty space above Eleanor's eyes, and screamed and ran a mile. "Is that all it is?" said Eleanor, looking in the mirror. "Well, I can easily draw some eyebrows on." But Eleanor wasn't very good at drawing, no matter how many times she tried. So, instead, she combed her hair forward, but it just got in her eyes and made her bump into things. Then she tried balancing her pet mice on her face, but they just bit her and fell off. Suddenly, wherever Eleanor went, all she noticed were eyebrows, squiggly eyebrows and fat eyebrows, sensible eyebrows and mad eyebrows, eyebrows with shiny silver rings through them, eyebrows like flashes of lightning, eyebrows that met in the middle, and eyebrows that were so far apart they could almost be ear hair. She had never realized how wild and wonderful eyebrows were, and how much she missed her own. "I'm so miserable without my lovely eyebrows," said Eleanor. "I wish I could get them back. But how?" And then she had a brilliant idea. "Are you long, thin, and—" Meanwhile, out in the big wide world, Eleanor's eyebrows got a job as an exclamation mark on a very angry sign. But it rained and they got washed off. Suddenly, the eyebrows felt cold and wet and a long, long way from home. And that's when they saw a notice. "Are you long, thin, and hairy? So much more than just a silly, scruffy, hairy little bit of fluff. A foolish little girl misses you so. Please come back to Eleanor's house. You're beautiful." When Eleanor woke up the next morning, the space above her eyes felt itchy. "What's gone wrong now?" she wondered sadly. So she looked at her face in the mirror, and there, right above her eyes, were her eyebrows. And now Eleanor knew exactly what they were for. Making her happy. The end of Eleanor's Eyebrows by Timothy Knapman and David Tazzyman. Here on the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls with eyebrows around the world. Good night.